He's already starting to give out all the freaking story and tips and stuff.
I could go on, bro. I host a show. I'll go on this entire time if you want, like, for real.
He's already going, guys, but it's Sean Daniel here, and I'm in Columbia, South Carolina with, obviously you can tell he does freaking talk shows and stuff. Cause
it's no secret. Right?
He's already. The reason I came over here to Columbia, South Carolina, to talk to Chris Phillips is because he's the host and, should I say, owner?
Yeah, CEO, owner
of Spurs Up
brains
Show.
Behind it all, I guess. I mean, the Spurs Up Show. Yes, it's a Gamecocks media entity. We do everything from podcasts, articles, video, like I said, daily live streams, merchandise, social media, of course. Even do like Twitch streaming. We're on TikTok. I mean, every angle you could think of, basically, we're doing it. So yeah, it's but it's just a big Gamecocks entity, man, and just have a lot of fun with it. So it's been a blessing and it's a blast. So.
And by Gamecocks, he means University of South Carolina Gamecocks. And the reason I want to talk to you, Chris, was because you have built this online social media following where you're talking about sports, things that you enjoy talking about, and you're being able to do it full time, not having to work a separate job. Yeah. But yet you're not huge. And I don't think that many people realize, one, that you can do something you love and earn a full-time income doing it without being huge. Right. And two, I don't think really, even I don't understand how you can get to that point. And so I wanted to go into your whole journey of how you learned from, going from playing baseball to having a normal 9-to-5 to now talking about sports that you love, earning a full-time income. And so that's the real reason I came here, and I'm excited to dive into.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it for sure. Appreciate the opportunity.
And thanks for setting us up in this.
Dude,
you can't see it all, but he's got this huge den in here.
The studio, man. It's where I tell people it's where all the magic happens in the place. So it's where all the content is made for the most part.
So first, before we get into I want to go back to when you were a kid and figure out, how did you get to this point with your journey and stuff.
For sure.
But what's a day in the life like now for you as actually being a full-time content creator?
Yes, I mean, I definitely have a daily routine, and I definitely believe in having a routine. I think that comes from sports for me. Again, I was a baseball player, and I was a pitcher, so you always have a routine when you go day by day or whatever. But now, I'll wake up. I have my first piece of content out by 10 a.m. I know that may seem late for some people, but in the content creator world, my audience is not up at 6 a.m. looking for another article or a video or whatever. So. But I'll wake up. I like to do some light reading and some self-development stuff in the morning. And I like my morning coffee. And, we drop a podcast Monday.
Wait, so you with your energy and you have coffee?
I mean,
come on, Chris.
I like the coffee. It's just it's funny. I wasn't a big coffee guy when I moved here. But I went to Starbucks twice in the first month I moved here. I'm not a huge coffee guy. Like when I worked in the corporate world, I drink it because it was free, whatever. But I went to Starbucks twice, and my parents gave me a Mr. Coffee, just to give it to me. And I went twice, and I was just thinking about, we're on small business budget, whatever. I'm thinking, it'd be a lot smarter if I just got it at the store and just made coffee one day. I don't know. It just became part of my morning routine. I'll drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning, whatever, kind of get going. But no, so I'll wake up in the morning, like I said, do some light reading, self-development stuff, and then really get after the content grind pretty much immediately. As far as, we drop a show every single day. And so I actually record the podcast that drops. So Monday through Friday is when the podcast drops. I'll record Sunday through Thursday. So for example, we're sitting here right now. I'll record a show for tomorrow, upload it on our hosting platform. It'll post every single day at 5 a.m. Because, and the reason for that is a good reason behind it is because when I lived in Charlotte, which is where I lived previously before Columbia, I loved to listen to podcasts on the commute. Right? I love to pass that 30-minute drive.
5 p.m.
Right. You're right. 5 8. So I would go into work 7 a.m.
5 a.m. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So it goes out at 5 a.m. But I would always listen to podcasts on the commute. And I was like, well, I feel like I'm going to have a lot of listeners that probably do the same thing. So that's why I do that. But so the show's already out at that point, but I'll get it posted on our website and stuff like that. And get all, clips put together and everything. Because, I put a video clip to go with when I'm posting the podcast all across social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It goes to YouTube automatically, so all that good stuff. But obviously I really believe, content creation, putting out massive pieces of content is kind of my lane. That's what's really, that's how the business even is where it is right now. It's just putting out massive pieces of content. So every single day I'm putting out video clips to promote the actual show. Video clips, audio clips, everything, right? Because it's about drawing the audience to what you're doing. So it's almost like you're putting little minute long, 2 minute long, teaser clips, if you will, And it's like, hey, if you want to hear more, here's the link to the full show. And that's really how, I've grown it. And, it's done well for social media too, because those clips get shared, people follow you, and people, retweet it, whatever. They share it, they like it, whatever. So do that.
And how long does that usually take? Your content creation time in the day?
Yeah, probably about that takes up from like 10 to noon. As you know, it's a tedious thing for sure, clipping video and lining up audio and getting that all put together. But so that'll be like 10 to noon, and it can differ based on the day. If I've got an interview in the morning, like a former USC athlete or personality or just whoever it may be, I might have to do that. Or if it can vary day to day. For the most part, this is the routine. I'll do daily live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter from noon to 1 called The Daily Crow. And I was just telling you about that. We've had massive success with that. And basically what it is, it's just an hour-long call-in show, talk show. If people can leave their questions, comments, and we have a really good time with it. It's awesome. It's really awesome. We've drawn a really good crowd with that. And then I'll work out. I'll go for a workout probably like 1:30. I really believe in keeping yourself physically fit. And I think it helps your mental. It obviously helps your physical. And it's just something I do. So I'll go work out. And then in the afternoon, I'm in a continuous state of publishing content. So like that really never stops. I'm posting clips all day. I'm staying up to date on Twitter or social media, like what's going on in the Gamecock world. I'm making graphics if needed, whatever. So that never really stops. But I'll record the show in the afternoon. And again, just depending on the day. Like for example, tonight we're doing a stream on Twitch for NCAA Football 14 for Road to Glory with one of South Carolina's players. Yeah, so like it was just like depending on the day or if there's a game that night, whatever. So it's really just nonstop continuous content. You know what I mean? Like, and I come into a game plan with each and every single day, but you have to be kind of flexible because things happen. Some days we have a press conference. Some days we have a game. Some days I'm doing an interview. Some days news will just drop in the middle of the day and you're like, what? We got to react to that. So, and I guess that's the challenge. That's the grind of it because it's something that truly does never stop. But that's why you have to make sure, I think, that you love it because I do genuinely love it. And that's why I don't mind. If I really calculated
the amount of time you
Well, if somebody said, yeah, how many hours do you work in a week? I'd be like, all of them, pretty much. Really. I definitely take time for myself. Like I said, when I go work out, like that's time for me. When I'm doing reading, when I'm doing like, self-development stuff, or if like I'm meditating, or if I'm doing whatever, like stuff for me, or if I'm talking to family, friends, there's time for me for sure. But like, as a small business owner, you're never off the clock. You really aren't.
Especially in the content business.
Right, and especially when people are looking to you. And again, things in sports happen that fast, right? Things change so quickly. And that's the great thing about it. The sports makes it, the content makes itself in a way. You know what I mean? Because it's ever evolving and changing. So you just got to be able to stay on top of it, man, and adapt to it. And, because a lot of people look to me as like, hey, we're what's happening? You know what I mean? Right. So if something big happened, I didn't post about it, it'd be pretty irresponsible on my part. I look like, you know what I mean? Like that's just something that comes with it. So that's why you got to find something, like I said, you love to do. It's not work. It's a grind. I'll tell you, it's a grind, but I love doing it. You know what I mean? So, I'd say that's kind of a look inside the daily routine, but, you got to bust your ass. There's no other way to put it. Like if you want to be a small business owner doing what you got to bust your ass. And again, that's why I think it's so important to find something you're passionate about. It makes it, you have fun along the way. So that's kind of an inside look. Like I said, I don't know if I mentioned, I'll record the podcast in the afternoon and stuff like that.
You said that.
Yeah, and it's just like a continuous cycle. It depends on the season and what. So it's fun though, man. I really enjoy it, like I said. So yeah.
Did you know certain things that you really enjoyed like this when you were a kid? Were you always a big talker? Did you like sports all the time when you were a kid? Did you have like a camera sometimes when you were making stuff as a kid?
So it's funny, man. I was shy, actually, even through high school.
What?
I was a shy dude, man. Like, definitely even like, especially like talking to girls. Like, I was very shy. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I was definitely always into sports. My dad played college golf. My grandpa was a big golfer. Picked up a golf club when I was 3. Started playing baseball when I was 5. Played competitive golf till I was 15, and then chose baseball. And obviously played baseball throughout high school. Played in college at Newberry College. Shout out Newberry, go Wolves.
Wait, where did you grow up before?
North Augusta, South Carolina.
Okay.
So just about an hour down the road. But I was always into sports, but I would say where it really came about, because like I really wasn't the kid that, had the camera or whatever, like stuff like that. where I can really first cite where it started was really when I first got into like South Carolina football and being like a diehard fan. I was about 11 or 12. It was around 2002, if you will. So I'm 11 or 12. And I had a lot of buddies in middle school. I guess I was in middle school at that point, or maybe just in elementary, whatever. Like, let's say we're in middle school, basically, when I can first remember. And we would have these writing blocks in English, right? And, you can write about anything. You get 30 minutes, write about anything. And this guys I was a group of friends with, some of them were Clemson fans, some of them were Carolina. They would write about the games that were happening that weekend. And they'd talk about the game, the two teams playing. Of course, it'd be their favorite teams. So, like, I was writing about who South Carolina was playing and, like, give my prediction and stuff. That's where I can first, like, earliest cite it. And I think I just always had a knack, man. Like, I was that dude in college that, like, I could wait till the night before to write a paper for English and get a B+. I could just BS it almost. Like, just naturally, I was kind of good at, like, the gift of gab and, like, impromptu stuff. Yes. So that's where I can really cite it back. And then from there, I remember this specifically, and I don't think anybody's ever heard this story, and I was thinking about it last night, just thinking about this interview. My grandfather is the one that really got me into the South Carolina football stuff, and he was a huge fan of Carolina football. And again, that's where I got it from. I became a diehard because of him. He was like my best friend growing up. But I remember, I don't know if you ever had to do this in school, but like I remember specifically, we had to make like a pamphlet that was like, like you go to church and there's like a track or what, like, like the tri-fold like pamphlet almost. Like
yeah.
Some on the front. And you
a brochure.
Brochure, yes, that's what I was brochure. I think we had to do that for like a class or something. And so I kind of learned how to do it. And just for my grandfather ran, I'll never forget, it was 2006. I'm 15 years old. South Carolina is playing Florida in football, and it's the week of. And I remember I made a brochure on, again, this is 2006. It's clip art at that point, right? But like, I found an image on Google of Savell Newton, I think it was. He was playing quarterback at the time, or he was on the team. And I made a brochure for the game. And what's so funny, I was thinking about that, like I said last night, and I remember in that, I wrote keys of the game. Matchup. Like stuff I'm doing now. So like, obviously I wasn't thinking about it then.
Right.
But like, I literally made it for my grandpa. I just wanted to like show him, and he thought it was awesome, whatever. And so I wasn't necessarily aware in that moment of what I was doing, but like that explains a lot. And then from there, my senior year, I wrote for the school newspaper. I was like a sports guy for the school newspaper. So
you like the writing, but not like the talking yet, because you're saying you weren't.
Yeah, I like, and podcasts weren't a thing, right? Podcasts weren't really a thing. It's like if you weren't on TV.
But like when you're with your friends, right? Were you talking about it, or you just weren't that?
Yeah, I could talk sports. I was just more so like a shy kid. I wasn't nearly as outgoing, and I'd say, I guess, as bold as I am now. So I was a little bit more of a shy kid. I just hadn't really come into my own yet. You know what I mean? Like. And especially I will say as I grew up and evolved, and my best year sports wise, for example, the one that really got me to college and got me a scholarship was my senior year. And I think as the sports success came too, that helped a lot with as far as like the self-confidence and the outgoing nature, and like you become kind of the big man on campus, and everybody wants to be friends with you. But like I said, I had never thought about at that point like, oh, being in front of a camera and recording something. That wasn't really something that ever crossed my mind. But like, I definitely could always write it. And I really think when I got to college and when social media started happening and people started taking videos and we started to get smartphones and stuff, and I think that was something I sort of dabbled in, and I think I saw other people doing it, when YouTube started happening and stuff like that. Like, I saw other people doing it, and I just thought to myself, why couldn't I do it? And when I got to college, the story continues. You remember when Tumblr was a big thing, right? Remember that was a big thing? Everybody had like a little blog or whatever. I had one in college. I don't remember specifically, like one of my favorite things I wrote in college. This was just for me, and I was like sending it to some of my buddies. It was when Texas played San Francisco in the World Series, because I'm a baseball guy, right? I played college baseball, loved the game. Was
that Barry Zito time?
That was Zito. That was C.J. Wilson was a starter for the Rangers. I think this was 2012. And I wrote like a whole
Hamilton was popping.
Yeah, I wrote like a whole World Series preview on it. And like, again, this was just
for the hell of it?
Just for the hell of it. It's just something I enjoyed. Like, I think, I told you this a little bit earlier. always loved the idea, the concept of I can put my opinions out there in any way. And then so that happened, I did that a little bit. And then as time went on, after I had left Newberry, I started a WordPress site. And it was just literally a blog. And so my nickname in baseball was C Philly. That's what my pitching coach, because I'm Chris Phillips, he called me C Philly. That stuck. Like everybody started calling me C Philly. So I called it a C Philly thing. I don't know why I chose that name. I just did. And this was 2013. I started blogging a little bit, and I go back and I read it, and I'm like, I can't believe. Because when I think back in my early 20s, I'm like, I was kind of a maniac. Like, I mean, I was just a college kid. I was going crazy, partying, having a good time, whatever. But some of the stuff I wrote an article called Success Breeds Success, like talking about, successful people and the characteristic traits they have and how being in a positive mindset, how that leads to more success. I wrote another article about the power of networking, you know what I mean? And the power of like marketing yourself. I don't know that I was really self-aware in this moment. And then I wrote some South Carolina stuff too. I wrote my own personal preseason top 25. I recapped 2013 SEC Media Days for South Carolina football. And again, this was all just for me. This is all just for me. I just was doing this because it was a creative outlet for me. I just felt compelled to do so. And again, I even wrote an article. I used to love 574s, New Balances. I used to love those shoes. I wrote an article about those shoes, how much I love those shoes. So it was just kind of a creative outlet for me, man. And again, during this time, I had Twitter since like 2009 when it first happened. I was one of the first to have, amongst my friend group at least, have Instagram, Facebook, whatever. We all had Facebook, but like Instagram, like the social media wave. And so I was always active on there. And like I told you, I loved the whole Twitter thing because it was like you had the platform to just express your opinion. You know what I mean? It was like I was telling you a little bit earlier. It's like Twitter, for better or for worse, because it's not, it can be a negative too, but it gives everyone the platform to feel like their opinion's valuable. You know what I mean? Or to feel like their insight or their opinion, is of value, right? Like, I mean, because, and some people view it this way, I guess, through likes and retweets. Like if I put out a good opinion, it's rewarded with likes and retweets. If I don't, then it's not. And again, I think much differently about that now, but I just saw it as a platform to express my opinions and stuff like that. And, it continued to evolve, man. Like when I got done with sports and I moved to Charlotte, and I was a lot more like business minded and wanted to get to the city and just make money. And I think for a while I was kind of chasing the wrong things as far as like, I looked at like the city life and being in a shirt and tie and like living in the high rises and like, driving this car. And
but what did you go to school with the mindset of? What did you want to become? Something like that?
So I was, no. So dude, I was one of those guys where like, I majored in biology. A lot of people don't know that. Majored in biology, which is wild, honestly, thinking back. My parents, my mother's particularly love her to death, obviously, but she pushed me and she wants the best for us. I have two great loving parents, by the way. 27 years of marriage, celebrated in November, so awesome. But they pushed me to do like medical, and because you can find a job in it, it's stable, it's whatever. So I don't blame them for that. But I was on the mindset I want to play pro ball. Like I chased the dream, you know what I mean? And I don't regret that at all. I chased the dream of playing professional baseball, and that's kind of where my mindset was, you know what I mean?
Okay.
All the other stuff was just kind of a hobby, doing it, whatever. Like I tell people, like the way that I grind on the business and content now, that was me on the baseball field. I was throwing 4 to 5 times a week. I was working out 5 times a week. When I wasn't at the field, I was watching games. I was a student of the game. I was watching big leaguers. I was a pitcher. I was watching a guy like John Lester was my favorite player. I was watching him. How did he pitch? What were sequences? Like, what was his routine? How did he just watch him going through the motions and just everything, just trying to pick it all apart and absorb as much as I could. And I really made myself a student of the game. And so that's really all my mindset. I was one of those dudes. I was like, I'm majoring in baseball.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And transferred from Newberry after 2012 and, was planning on playing at Augusta State. And coach got fired my freshman year. I should mention that, by the way. My head coach got fired, similar to what South Carolina football is going through right now. It was a coaching change. So I definitely understand.
The one who had recruited you.
Yeah, so the guy that recruited me, my pitching coach, got fired. Everybody got let go. So, and the new coach, Russell Triplett, who's done a really, really good job at Newberry, and Newberry baseball has reached heights that we didn't think were possible before. I mean, they've had a lot of success, but he's done a really good job and just things didn't work out. You know what I mean? I decided to transfer from Newberry. I wasn't happy, and it was a lot of personal stuff with me. I for sure take full responsibility for it, but wasn't getting as much playing time as I would have liked on the field. Decided to transfer. Went to Augusta State and talked to their coach, and thought I was going to have a spot, and it didn't work out. So they had a lot of seniors, and so I'm kind of sitting there like, well, what the heck? What do I do? So the game had just gotten ripped from me, but I actually continued to work out, train, played a lot of sandlot ball from that point, fall of 2012 until spring of 2013. April 2013 is when it happened. And I'll never forget, I just woke up one day and was like, man, I'm really tired of my legs hurting. I'm really tired of my arm hurting. I'm really tired of being sore. Like I didn't wake up and have that same, didn't have that same excitement to do it. You know what I mean? And that's kind of when you know. And so I'm at least happy because I know a lot of guys that, and there's, you see this across pro sports, you see whatever. A lot of athletes, they struggle to hang it up. You know what I mean? A lot of them can't let go of it. And I was able to I looked at it as it was on my own terms. Even though the stuff happened with Newberry and Augusta State, I chose to hang up the cleats. I could have kept training. I could have kept trying to chase the dream. But I came to grips with it, became at peace with it, and moved on because it was my life. I mean, baseball was literally my entire life. You know what I mean? I'm sure you ask anybody that's really played the game, that's how it is. You become engulfed with it. You know what I mean? And like, if you want to be great at anything, I truly believe you have to become like grossly obsessed with it.
So wasn't that hard?
So to give it, I mean, it was tough. I mean, it was something, I feel like I've always been gifted with, I'm able to and this comes from baseball. Now, as a pitcher, you have to have a very short memory. And as a golfer too, by the way. As a pitcher, you have to have a very short memory because you throw a pitch, guy hits a bomb, flush it. You got to go to the next pitch. That's how I've always looked at things. Like, I'm sure you've had moments you make a piece of content. You're like,
well, I played high school golf in California. So
okay, so you would definitely understand what I'm saying. But I even relate it to now. I'll make a minute-long video clip or I'll record a show. I'm like, I don't feel like that was my best one. But you flush it, you go to the next day, you make another one. You just keep going. You stack good days on top of good days. You stack good pieces of content, and you keep going. And your good work's going to far outweigh. And normally, you're your toughest critic, anyways. You know what I mean? So it's kind of I relate it to this. And again, I'm getting off kind of a tangent here, but I kind of relate it to the master pianist. If you and I were going to sit down and listen to a master pianist play, if he missed a note, we probably wouldn't tell.
That's true.
But he knows, right? So that's kind of how I view myself even now, when I'm making content and stuff. But it was tough because you're giving up something you love, but I've just always had the ability to flush it, next play, next pitch, next thing. So for me, it was like, all right, what's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Okay.
And I think that was more of the journey, the struggle, if you will. We can say the struggle. I mean, that was a little bit of the struggle for me. It was because from 2013 until I found this and started doing this in January 2017, I was like, what is that next grind? That's the way I look. What's the next grind? What's the next thing that I'm going to become grossly obsessed with and put my all into it and make it my own? And you really, that's not really something you can find in the corporate world. It's just not something that, when you're working for someone else, it's really tough to take ownership of it. And just in my opinion, that's just the way I'm wired. So
you were 23?
So I was 22 at that point when that happened in 2013. I was 22 at that point. So, and then from 22 to 27, man, it was a journey. It was a journey of finding who I was. What was I going to be? Who's the person I'm going to be? Am I going to still be in sports? Am I going to gravitate towards other passions, music, fashion, just whatever. Who knows? Because I like a lot of different things. And that's how I felt for a while. I was like, I like a lot of different things. What do I love? What's my passion?
So did you try a bunch of different stuff?
Oh yeah, for sure. I dabbled in a lot, man. I wrote blogs for a SoundCloud rapper, pretty much. Dude, seriously, I was interviewing. This was 2014, I think. I was interviewing musicians, not known musicians at all, just to do it, just for his website. And I was like, why not? Do whatever. I was doing it for his website. I mean, dude, I even dabbled in maybe people may not know this. I dabbled in music for a little bit. Just messed around. Nothing really serious, but just messed around, made some tracks with a buddy of mine. We jumped in the studio and whatever. I think it's good to taste a bunch of different things because then you find out, what do I like and what do I love? I thought about making my own t-shirt company. I've told you, what we do now with the Spurs Up Show, we put out a bunch of dope merch. And we're making merch a huge part of the business in 2021. And I've always like had a passion and like, I don't know, I like rocking stuff nobody else got. Like you see what I'm rocking right now. I doubt many people have the Lattimore and the Block C t-shirt. Like my homie, shout out to Gray, Soda City Thrifts, hooked me up with this. But so doing that, I dabbled in that. I thought maybe, okay, I'm going to create an app. When I was in Charlotte, I had an idea for an app called, maybe somebody will steal it now, but I had an app, it's kind of already a thing, I'm sure, but it was going to be called Loop. And the concept was going to, and I had like drawings and everything. The concept was going to be that, because I had just moved to Charlotte, and I'm like, okay, like I really want to be, in the loop. No pun intended. I want to be in the loop of what's going on, what events are going on, what are the specials on the bars, like what's the hot spot on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever. And so it was going to be an app, like almost like a social media app where you could just follow events and people could post from said events and like, so something like that. I had that initial idea and then I found out it costs like $100,000 to make an app. And I was like, all right, well, this is probably something I'm going to shelf. But my mind always wandered, you know what I mean? Like I tried a bunch of different things and I even remember one time, like 2016, it's for the Spurs Up Show stuff. I mean, I always loved sports, and I was a huge Carolina fan. I remember I had a Periscope. Periscope used to be a huge thing, and we're still using Periscope, but I don't know if you saw, it's going away like March 31st. They're just...
Really?
Yeah, I think it's going to be strictly Twitter video.
Okay.
I don't think Periscope's going to be like an actual thing anymore. I remember going live on Periscope 2016 after South Carolina beat Vanderbilt. Nobody was watching. I just did it for me, though. You know what I'm saying? So... I think I was always
searching for something more
fulfilling.
Searching
And tasting. Yes, searching for something more fulfilling. Again, like I said, in layman terms, searching for that next grind, that next passion, that next thing I was going to really pour myself into. Because that's how baseball was. And I mean, like I said, I really chased the dream. I left it all on the field. You can put it that way. So I was like, what's going to be that next thing? And... thankfully enough, again, it all worked out. But it's interesting because while you're in the journey, while you're on the journey and you're going through it, you don't really understand why things happen or how they're happening or just what's the purpose. Sometimes you take on the mindset of like, why me? You know what I mean? Like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And I look back now so differently, knowing like that's why that happened. Like I think about my first job in Charlotte. I didn't love it. I worked in sales and digital marketing. First job I ever had in Charlotte. Toughest job I've ever had. You're making 100+ cold calls a day. You're getting told to screw off 95 of those times most likely. Or they're not answering. You're getting told, go to hell, whatever, screw off. You're maybe setting a meeting or two a day. Maybe you're getting a yes once. I mean, that's a true grind. Right? But so I look back at that and I'm like, I'm so glad that happened. Because again, it weathered me in the sense of like, that's the toughest job I've ever had. I'll always have perspective. Perspective is my favorite word in the English language because I'll always have perspective. Like if I have a tough day doing what I'm doing now, we all have days, right? We all do, no matter who you are. Having perspective and looking back and be like, compare it to where you were, you know what I mean? Like really, truly having that perspective. And then it's kind of ironic now, man, because the way that I'm sure we'll talk about this in a bit, but the way that we monetize the business is through partnering with small businesses and other businesses or whatever, and they advertise with the Spurs Up Show. So, hey, the Spurs Up Show is presented to you by XYZ, right? So, but it's the irony in that is that that's literally what I did in Charlotte, and I hated it. I was selling digital marketing to small businesses. But I look back now, and I'm like, that got me ready for what I'm doing now. Like that's why I'm so comfortable reaching out to small businesses and talking with them, and I know how to put together an advertising package that fits their needs and like how to help them hit their goals, and like those experiences help me along the way. And it doesn't matter if you're in sports, you're in business, you're in relationships, you have to look at everything as like everything happens for a reason. Like I've always been that way. Everything happens for a reason. I honestly cite this back to my upbringing, my parents, my family. I have 4 siblings, all younger. Like my family, we're all about family for sure, and I'm close with them. I remember thinking to myself at one point, I was like, why do I not worry? And I'm like, it's because things just always seem to work out. And I think that comes from having a great support system around you, having people that, as you have a small circle, but it's a tight circle of people that support you, care about you, love you, and that's, again, not getting off on a different subject, but that's why like I'm at the point with my business and what I do. Like at the end of the day, as long as those people approve of me and they love me and they approve my actions, I don't care what anybody else thinks. And I think that's where a lot of the self-security comes from. But, I mean, again, like I said, having perspective, everything happens for a reason. It's just kind of funny to look back. And I'm sure you do the same. You know, we all do. You look back on the journey, and you're like, thank God that happened, because it set me up for what I may have thought was something terrible in the moment, set me up for something so great that's currently happening. So, I mean, I think that's the view you got to have on it.
It's really hard when you're going through trying to figure out what you enjoy, because especially if you have this deep fulfillment and desire to have this deep fulfillment in your life, when you don't have something set up like career-wise, business-wise, you have to go through all those annoying-ass experiences of getting a job you don't like, trying a blog that goes nowhere, trying a merch thing that goes nowhere. And
every failure gets you close to a success. Every failure gets you closer to a win.
But it's funny, everybody I talk to, they say, and I experienced it too, when you're going through that, it sucks. And you're like, man, when is this going to break? When is this going to break? But then when you look back, you realize, oh, me doing the merch thing, that like you did, helped me realize I like that merch aspect. Me doing the cold call sales helped me gain perspective for when I'm doing my thing now and I don't get too ungrateful. It seems like everybody has this thing where you just got to gain a shit ton of experience.
You have to.
And that's where the learning comes in that allows you to pick the right thing to do with your life later.
Yeah. You have to try. And that's, dude, people ask me all the time, you know, if I could give one piece of advice, whatever you want to do, just start. Because I think a lot of people, you know, they spend so much time wanting things to be perfect or worrying about how this is going to go. I'm just here to tell you right now, you are going to suck in the beginning. You are. Most likely you are, unless you're just this gifted human being that you're just, boom, you're a natural. And I mean, I'm sure that happens in some circumstances, but like I told you, bro, our first ever episode is still on YouTube. You could go watch it, and it's kind of funny to go back, and I'm like, who listened to this? This is terrible. Dude, I even listened like a year ago, and I'm just like,
what the fuck?
The way I've sharpened myself, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely notice it now. And I'm sure, and that's the exciting thing. That's the exciting part. I tell people, like, the most exciting part about what I do is, again, I mean, I'm getting to live out a dream, man. Like, I'm getting to grind and chase something I love to do. But as we sit here today, you know, you never feel like you made it. You know, I think once you feel like you made it, that's the wrong attitude to have, and you need to do something else. Once you reach a point of satisfaction or you're content, you know, I think that's the wrong attitude to have. If you're truly loving something, you're trying to grow and evolve, you never reach that point. You know, success is a journey, not a place. A lot of people talk about that. But, you know, you're going to suck in the beginning. And the most fun part, the point I was getting to, one of the most fun parts for me, man, is to sit here today and you feel like, man, look around, look at the studio, like, look at this, look at that, look at the way the content has evolved. And I sit here, I'm like, man, like I think back to a year, you know, previous, right? And I'm like, man, how much better things have gotten. But in that point, I felt the same way. So it's exciting to think that I'm going to be sitting here a year from now and be like thinking the same way. And we're just going to keep growing. We're going to keep evolving. Things are going to keep getting better. And you know, you don't, again, success is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. Like, it doesn't, bottom line. You're going to, like I said, you're going to suck in the beginning, as funny as that may sound, but you have to start. And you have to keep, like I said, you got to keep stacking good days on top of good days. You can't think, you know, when I started in January 2017, if I would have thought, man, like maybe I'll be something in January of 2020. That's no, you just start, let's just crush today. Let's beat today. And then tomorrow, we'll do it again tomorrow. And then the next day, we'll keep doing it. And we keep doing it, and we keep doing it, and we keep doing it. And again, if we stack enough good days on each other, you'll probably see at the end, you're going to get the results you want. But I think we talked before, most people don't have the discipline. Most people don't have and that's why you got to find something you're passionate about, because the first sign it gets hard, you'll quit. It's like I told you in the beginning.
Like you told me about with the followers.
When we started with the Spurs Up Show, and what even called the Spurs Up Show was Armchair South Carolina, because I jumped on a media entity called Armchair All Americans. They were looking for a South Carolina contributor. Like, hey, we'll give you full creative control. We have this Twitter account. There's no podcast, whatever. That's all. There was just a Twitter account and a place to post articles, which was their website. So I was writing 2 articles a week, had no podcast, and I had control of the Twitter account. We had 30 followers. We started the podcast in April. Because again, I was a podcast guy at that point. And I had a co-host at the time, and I hit him up, and I was like, hey, man, like, why not? Let's start a podcast.
Wait, so before that, so you had started doing your own content?
No, so I'm saying
you're a podcast guy.
Well, so no, so I had like listened. I had consumed.
Oh, okay.
I had consumed. I had not gotten to the creative stage of, because like I said, the biggest thing with me, I was listening to podcasts back in like 2012. I mean, because they probably became a thing 2010-ish maybe. I don't know. I don't know. A while. But they've been around a decent amount, about 10 years, 11 years. But I remember I was listening to podcasts, Gamecock podcasts, and at that point, I listened to them for a while. And I'll never forget this, by the way. I'm going to mention them by name, too, because it's a funny story. But one of the shows I listened to, because I'll tell you this, on another note, my mindset shifted.
While you're working a 9 to 5, right?
Well, my mindset shifted. I forget who it was I heard say this, but it always stuck out to me. It was just some video I watched. It said, in this world, there are producers and there are consumers. Be a producer. But you're going to fall in one of two categories. I always, in my mind, I was like, my mind shifted at some point, like, I want to be a producer. I want, like, now.
You've been a consumer so long.
Right. I'm like, I want to be a producer. That's what I want to be. And maybe that comes from, like, again, just going back to sports. I'm used to having the ball in my hand. When you're a pitcher, the game's dictated on what you do. You're in control. You know what I mean? Like, I want the ball in my hand. So maybe that's kind of where that came from. But, no, so this funny story, like, it all just kind of lined up and it all fell, a couple of months later. But Garnet and Black Attack. Have you heard of SB Nation? You heard of them?
Yes.
Like, they're big sports, whatever.
Yeah, sports.
Garnet and Black Attack is their, and again, nobody really knows this story. Garnet and Black Attack is their South Carolina affiliate, whatever. And at that point, with me I was just a fan on social media. They probably had like 6,000 followers, and I thought that was like huge. I mean, really, because when you don't have, at this point, my personal Twitter, I had like maybe 500, which I thought was like,
and wow, you were like, 500.
Wow. But yeah, so like they were looked at as a big entity, whatever. And I remember it was fall of 2016. South Carolina had just hired Will Muschamp, and Kurt Roper was the offensive coordinator. He came from Florida. Now, a lot of people weren't high on the Will Muschamp hire. I was kind of indifferent. I was just like, I'm a fan. Like, I'm going to support this guy until I have a reason not to. But South Carolina played Texas A&M, and I went to the game. And our offense sucked that year, but the play calling was kind of crappy. Like, Kurt Roper wasn't a great OC. You ask any Gamecock fan, they don't speak very highly of him. But whatever. We had a bad game, and I was frustrated. And they put up a tweet saying, hey, we're taking your questions for our podcast.
SB Nation?
No, Garnet and Black Attack. Their specific South Carolina page. They tweeted that. And I replied, and I said, how much money would you pay to punch Kurt Roper in the face? Like, half joking, half serious, because like I was so frustrated with the game. And they lashed out at me, basically, saying like trying to call me out on the question, like, oh, look at this guy, like whatever. And like a couple of their writers were saying something. And I remember thinking in that moment, I was like, you know what? Screw these guys. I want to make my own show. And that was probably in October. And ironically enough, the armchair thing, I first found them on social media on Twitter in like late December. So it wasn't that much longer after. And so that's why I was like, I'm definitely doing a podcast. And again, a lot of people don't know that story. And I didn't mention it when it happened. But I'm not somebody that, I don't believe in holding grudges. Like, I really believe holding a grudge it only hurts the person that has the grudge, right? And I mean, that's been kind of part of my self-development and my involvement and evolving as a person. But I'll just never forget, and I didn't make a big deal out of it, just low-key, though, inside the day we passed them for following on social media, I was like, suck it. That's kind of how I felt, honestly. I was just like, you know what? That's for 4 years ago. That's for 2 years ago when you told me to screw off. That's what you get. Now we're bigger than you. You have no say to what I do. So, and again, it's no spite. I don't wish those guys anything, but whatever. All the Gamecock creators wish them nothing but love. But it was just, you use those small things to fuel you, right? You use those small things to fuel you.
Because it is tough along the way.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, my mindset's changed a lot along the way. When I first started, and we were in the early stages, and again, had 30 followers on Twitter, no Instagram, no Facebook.
This is while you were working still at 9 to 5
in Charlotte?
Oh, yeah, working
9 to 5 in Charlotte, selling digital marketing, doing sales, just living the rat race.
And you're not fulfilled while you're doing that.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. And, I think back to, and I almost thought to myself, because, over quarantine, there was a lot of uncertainty. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur the rest of my life. Like, I would rather work 100 hours a week for myself than work 40 for someone else, right? I think you're probably wired the same way. But I honestly thought back to those days, and I thought to myself, if I, for whatever reason, was put back in that scenario, I think I'd fare a lot better because I have perspective. My mindset is so much better than it was then, because I'll never forget. And these group of guys, if they're listening, they know who they are. We used to go on our lunch break, noon to 1. We go to my buddy's place in Uptown Charlotte. We worked in Uptown. We'd go to his condo, though, and we would sit there the entire hour and just complain. We'd complain. We'd talk about how much the job sucks, how much this person annoys us and that person and our boss, and how much doing this meeting or this whatever we had to do. And I just think back, how could I have been fulfilled? My mindset was so negative. It was so bad. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have perspective. I wasn't saying to myself, hey, I'm grateful to just have a job. You know what I mean? Like, my mindset wasn't there. But again, it was all part of the journey. It was all part of, me evolving as a human being and, again, really changing my perspective and outlook on things. But yeah, I certainly wasn't fulfilled. There's no secret. I wasn't doing it. It wasn't like I woke up every morning and was like, man, this is my dream job. I'm selling digital marketing to small business owners that hate me pretty much. Like, no, that wasn't my dream job at all. But again, I would joke, with people that I do what I have to do 9 to 5 and I do what I love to do the rest of the time. So, doing all that, and again, starting out, 30 followers on Twitter, no Instagram, no Facebook. And, I told you off air, but the craziest part, people see what it is now and they're like, man, like that's so wild. Like how many, look at this, look at that, whatever. And it is amazing. It is. It's awesome. But what's crazier to me is to think that after 6 months, I tweeted every day. I mean, dude, you think about it. There hasn't been a day has not gone by that I have not been on Twitter since 2017. Think about that. So 4 years straight. I've been on social media. That's what you have to do. You just have to do it. But after 6 months, we had 100 followers on Twitter. Went from 30 to 100. And kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, it's like, what kept me going? Like, that's not a lot of success. Like, you're still not really seeing a ton of success at that point. But it was, I love to do it. And I could walk you through, like, because January 2017 to January 2018, I'll never forget, January 2018, like middle of that month, I hit 1,000 followers on Twitter. Because what happened was, I was at 100 in the summer, but football season came, I was so active, and that's when things really pick up. You know what I mean? And you start putting opinions out there during football, and people resonate with them, and they follow you, whatever. It happens. I'll never forget, though, when we hit 1,000 followers on Twitter, January 2018, I literally went out of my way to go get a bottle of champagne. I thought that was like the greatest achievement. I'm dead serious. I thought that was like the biggest, baddest thing ever. Like I was like, cheers to 1,000. Like I put up this old sentimental post and everything. And like, I was very, gracious and grateful. And again, at that point though, that was a huge deal. You know what I mean? That was a huge, huge deal. And then from January 2018 to, I'll never forget, New Year's Eve of 2018, or January 1, 2019, hit 4,000 followers on Twitter. That was a huge deal. We hit 4,000 like that New Year's Eve as the ball dropped. Hit 4,000. And then from January 2019 to January 2020, or excuse me, it was maybe like March, whatever, we hit 10,000. Made a huge
That must have been
because
insane.
Here's the thing with social media, I tell you, the first 1,000's the toughest. Because it's like, who's going to listen to an account with 30 followers?
That's a good point.
You haven't built, followers are like street cred on social media.
That's true.
So like, and maybe it shouldn't always be that way, because it's like, just because you have more followers than me doesn't mean your opinion's more valid, but it's just the game. You know what I mean? Like, if you put an opinion out there that, whatever, it could be great, but it's like, the dude has 40 followers. Like, are we really going to take him that serious? Like, you have to build up that credibility. You know what I mean? And that's on social media, that's the game. The follower count is the game. But, it's just been a wild journey, man. That side of it, that social media side, it's, and that's, I literally grew the business on social without, because a lot of people say, oh, I hate social media, this, and I definitely see it again, is there's a lot of positives and there's a lot of negatives to it. But again, the perspective aspect, I'm like, man, I'm so grateful for social media, because social media has given people like you and I an opportunity to build a platform. That's exactly what I did. So, yeah, I'm grateful for it all, man.
So you went from January 2017
to, yeah, that's when I started.
That's
January
when you started, still working a normal job. Mm. And then you didn't quit your 9 to 5 and move here until something 19?
So, yeah, I'll get into that too, because again, that's another part of the story. There's a lot of pieces of the journey many people don't know about. Because I spend most of the time on the podcast just talking Gamecocks.
Right.
I don't dive into a lot of the business behind the scenes stuff. But so here's what happened. So May of 2019.
And in 2017, you're 26?
26, yeah, 26. So, of course,
and there's that whole dynamic because possibly your friends from school have their degree, they got the safe job, they're all happy, they got all the money with these cars and shit, and the whole comparison shit can go on.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. That's a whole nother aspect of something you have to, and that's when I say I moved to Charlotte chasing the wrong things. I think I was chasing stuff like that. I was like, oh, this apartment will make me happy. This car, these shoes, or this or that. Or, wearing a suit and tie to work every day, just feeling like I'm doing something. But again, it's the emptiness. You're not really fulfilled, right? You're not really fulfilled like you should be. But yeah, man, so I mean, obviously the podcast, the grind, whatever, continued. And it was May, and I remember in spring of 19, or actually, let's go back actually to November of 2018. Again, we're not even at 4,000 followers yet. But I remember it was at that point, really September, October of that year. Even at 4,000 followers, you start to see traction. You start to see you're really starting to gain some attention. People are like, responding to you and like sharing your stuff. And you're starting to see some love, right? And I just remember thinking to myself, I was like, dude, like, we might have something here. Like, there might be something here. And it just clicked for me. I was like, at some point, I was like, I want to break off and make this thing my own entity, make it my own.
Oh, so you were still doing the armchair thing.
Right. So it was still with armchair. But I knew at that point, I was like, I want to break off and it be my own entity. I want to make it my own business, get the LLC, do that whole thing. Because I don't know if I mentioned this, like I always had, especially after baseball ended, my mind shifted from sports to business. My grandfather owned a construction business. My dad majored in business, loves the stock market to this day, checking it constantly. So I kind of have that in my blood, that entrepreneurial spirit, I guess you could say. And so I knew, like, and the reason I think I tasted so many things, I always wanted to start a business. But again, I promised myself too, I was like, I would tell people that I want to start a business. Like, well, what are you waiting on? I'm like, I'm waiting for the right idea. Because I don't just want to go into it and I'm not passionate about it and it's a failed experiment. I want to wait. I feel like I trust the universe is going to hit me with it. And it's so funny how sometimes like those gifts can be something simple just sitting in front of you the whole time, right? You just didn't realize it. And I just look at that like I've always been a South Carolina fan. Why didn't I think of this before?
Especially you liked writing when you were in high school.
I'm like, why didn't I think of this before, right? Like, I mean, But, so, kept the, where was I? Yeah, so fall of 2018, we got approached. I was in Charlotte at the time, and there was a Gamecocks bar called Flight. They're not there anymore. What a place, what a venue, awesome spot. Reminded you of a place like down in 5 Points, but it was in uptown Charlotte. And, they had, in the Charlotte Gamecock Club, there was somebody from the Charlotte Gamecock Club that, again, shout out to them, had reached out to me. They were a fan of the show. Like, hey, have you thought about doing a live show from the bar? And I was like, I mean, I've maybe thought about it, but never thought about it really seriously. And they're like, dude, let's set it up. Clemson game, 2018, Clemson game. You'll do like a live pregame show. So I was like, cool. But so I had the idea of like, okay, we're going to branch off, get the LLC. It's going to be its own business. I'm going to rebrand and make my own logo, all that stuff. This is like 2 weeks before that game. And I was like, you know what? Now's the time. Because I want to do this. I want this to be like the first event where it's us. We're independent. We're breaking off. Because like, with all due respect to the armchair guys, which again, nothing but love for those guys. Because I mean, they gave me the opportunity. I'm forever grateful for them. But like, I thought of it as like, dude, I want to promote my brand. I don't want to have to promote armchair. So like,
especially
I'm like,
with that big of an effort to make it
right. So
show.
I was like, like this is the moment. This is the time to do it. So pulled the trigger, got the LLC, and I just had a gut feeling, man. I'm a big believer in trust your gut. You know what I mean? Like don't second guess it. And at that moment, my gut was telling me, hey, I think we might have something here. Get the LLC. We'll break off. We'll see what happens. Go from there. And did that event. We did like a live Periscope show because that's I still wasn't nearly as savvy with the content creation as I am now. So we did like which it was a success. It was cool.
How fun was it?
Oh, it was awesome. Oh, dude, it was so awesome. I mean, especially in the beginning when I had people coming up to me being like, man, love your work. And it was like, wow.
When that happens in person, that must have been
insane. It's insane. Yeah, it's insane. And was able to sit down. Mo Brown, former Gamecocks wide receiver, hilarious dude, by the way. He joined me and my co-host at the time. We got to chat with him. And Torrey Gurley was there. Shout out to Torrey, a good buddy of mine that played wide receiver at South Carolina. He was in the building because he lives in Charlotte or did live in Charlotte at the time. So that was the first big event that I'd ever done. And, so again, at that point, did the event, got the LLC, made the announcement to all of our following about a week before we did that, and how we were breaking off. And there was, it's a little, was fortunate enough to be able to retain all the social media accounts and the IP for the podcast and stuff like that. Because I really just told the guys, like, dude, I built this from zero. Like, this is mine. Like, I'm saying, like, I'm like, the Spurs Up Show account has more followers than your entire business account. Like, and they understood. They were cool about it. I was just saying that's how I viewed it in that moment. But so again, getting to where we are now, May of 2019 comes around.
But you had to take that chance.
Oh, for sure.
This is going to be a big thing before you saw it come to fruition. Meaning, you said this is going to be a big thing. I'm going to do it on my own, and then you did the live show where it really established that. So you took a chance on yourself.
Well, and even going back further, man, it's like I didn't mention this, but it's crazy how I'll never forget this conversation I had with a good buddy of mine in Charlotte. We're on our lunch break. We're eating in the French Quarter in Uptown. Never forget it. I forget the place we were at, but we're at a place in the French Quarter. And it was December of 2017, right? So there had been growth, whatever, but nothing crazy.
Right.
And I remember having a conversation with him. He asked me, like, how long are you going to keep doing that thing, man? And I was like, I love baseball, so I'll probably give it to the end of Carolina baseball season. And if it kind of stagnates, doesn't really grow, I'll probably just scrap it. You know what I mean? Whatever. So, like, I was that close to just not doing it. You know what I mean? But in my mind, I was like, dude, as long as it's growing, I'm going to keep going. Like, why wouldn't I? It's obviously, like, there's people that find this valuable. Like, the value that I feel like I'm putting out there, people are seeing that. And so, yeah, I mean, definitely took a chance. I'm about to get even more to that because I took an even bigger risk when, kind of spur of the moment, May of 2019. So I had worked in golf previously in college and stuff like that. I'd caddied at a golf course in Aiken, South Carolina. Done that part-time. Pretty good money, especially for a college kid. And I had an opportunity. My buddy was just like, hey, man, like, if you want to come here for the summer, I did this last summer, up there in the Hamptons. There's a golf course. You can come caddy it, work it. You'll make a ton of money.
Hamptons in New York?
Yes. Yeah. Way up. And I'd never been north of West Virginia. So at that moment, and there's some personal stuff I can get into that, I'll just say, I mean, I had a girlfriend at the time, and we broke up, and we were sharing an apartment and a lease and all that. And at that moment, I made the decision. All right, I'm getting out of Charlotte because in the spring of 19, I actually started like putting feelers out there with different businesses in Columbia. Like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm an up and coming media entity. Like, I really think my platform, maybe not right now, but at some point could show value to you guys because I understood that marketing aspect of it. So I kind of put those feelers out there. So my mind, I mean, the wheels were turning. Okay. And so May of 19, that fallout sort of happens, whatever. I pulled the trigger like, hey, I'm getting out of the lease early. I'm doing this thing. People don't even know. People don't realize because I just continue to make content and do all that stuff. I moved to New York for 2.5 months. Moved up there, didn't know a soul. And you know what? Honestly, it was the best thing I ever did. It was the best thing I ever did, dude, because, at this point.
So you're 28.
Yeah, I'm 28. I mean, this is like a lot of people are like, we live in a world today where like,
settle down.
You're 23 and don't have a kid.
Yeah.
Out? Like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, I'm 20. I never viewed it that way. Like, age does not matter. I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, you can do anything you want whenever. But yeah, of course, there was that societal pressure, which at that point I didn't really give a damn. I was just like, I'm on my own journey.
That must have been so good because you've never been like out of here, really.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'd lived in Charlotte. That's it, though. I mean, I'd never been out of the Carolinas. And so I pulled the trigger. I took the opportunity, but it was the best thing that ever happened. Because like I told you as well, I was probably, weight was probably like 255, which when I was at playing weight in college, I was 207. So you think about, I wasn't like, obese by any means, but I had bad weight on me. My eating habits weren't great, wasn't living the healthiest lifestyle, whatever. But so that, that was something that happened. I lost like 40
pounds. So you went to caddy at 250?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's not easy.
No.
I know, I've caddied.
I mean, I don't know. I still worked out. My eating habits were really the problem. And again, that's a whole separate conversation. But like just talking about the benefits of doing that, I wasn't at nearly as much into like self-development. Like I talked about meditation. That's something I'm kind of scratching the surface of and trying to dive into and like explore the mind and all that. I almost look at that because I was up there from June 5th or something until August like 15th. And again, none of my followers really know that because I just continue to pump out content, make shows. I never really made mention of it, which if I look back, I don't regret it, but I think that would have been something maybe I should have been a little more open and honest what was going on because people would have appreciated the journey, but I guess now they're getting an inside look at it. But I just thought to myself, hey, keep it business as usual. Not necessarily fake it till you make it, but just like keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a big believer. Nobody really cares about your problems. Just keep it rolling.
True.
Keep it rolling. Keep putting out great content, whatever. But so I was up there about 2.5, 3 months, and it was the best thing I ever did, bro, because, you know, again, I talked about the meditation self-development. It was almost like a 2.5, 3 month self-meditation because I moved up there. I didn't know a soul. All I did was work. When I'd come home, I would watch stuff like Joe Rogan. I'd watch stuff on YouTube and, you know, try to better myself. And I learned a lot of things. I learned about, for example, I learned about fasting. That's what I do now. I learned what fasting was. I learned even more about content. You know, one of my favorite guys to watch, one of my favorite guests on Joe Rogan's show was Naval Ravikant, like talking about him, and like that kind of got my mind turning in regards to like self-development and how to look at different things and approach different things. And, you know, obviously from like the financial side, I was able to go up there and, you know, make a really, you know, I mean, I moved back to Columbia with like 7-8 grand in my pocket. You know what I mean? To a nest egg. I was like, I know I got to, two things have to happen. I have to get to Columbia and I have to have a nest egg to get going. But I moved to Columbia with no sponsors yet. So I went ahead, got the lease. So, I mean, you talk about taking a risk. And again, like I said, the New York thing, best thing I ever did. Because it's so funny. When I look back, I don't view it as like it was a huge, I was like, what other option do I have? Like if I'm really chasing it, like there's no other choice. There's no other option.
So it didn't feel like this big instant.
Right. No, it wasn't like
it was like this is the right thing to do.
It wasn't like a risk from the mindset of like insecurity where you're like you're cautious and timid and you're like scared. I think I knew it was a risk, but it was exciting. Okay. I was like, dude, you know what? I'd rather go down swinging and fail trying to do what I love than be conservative and never take a chance. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, if this blows up,
you can always go back to something.
I'm right back where I started.
Exactly.
I can go right back to the office, and we'll keep it moving. But I moved to Columbia, moved to this place we're sitting in. Didn't have any. I mean, I felt good about some things being.
Yeah, but you didn't have money.
But nothing was locked up. Nothing was locked up. Nothing was a guarantee. So I could have moved here and got here and people have been like, hey, no, we actually don't want to sponsor you. That, you know, I would have had to, you know, make it work. But, you know, thankfully enough, I think, again, just getting here, continuing to work hard. At that point, you know, I'm up to like 8,000 followers and like it just continued to grow. And I like to think people, because when people invest the money in a business, they don't invest money in the logo or the brand. They invest the money in the person. That's what it is. So I like to think that people saw me, my passion for it, my work ethic, and they knew like their money and that's how my sponsors feel now. You can ask any of them. They know their money's being well spent. It's in good hands. They're going to get the absolute most out of it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a huge risk, and obviously it ended up paying huge dividends. And, you know, you got to trust your gut, and you got to take calculated risks. You know, you can't just go crazy and like you got to take calculated risks, but when the opportunity's there, because there's going to be moments, I think, man, for anybody listening, I think there's going to be moments in life where that opportunity is presented, and take it, because it might not give it to you again. You know what I mean? So take it, get after it, roll the dice, see what happens, and, you know, let the chips fall where they may, man. The universe is going to work itself out, I think. So, and it's been a blessing, man, at this point. I mean, it's overwhelming, and sitting here talking to you, and it's like to think, you know,
think back where you came from.
Right. It's a blessing, man. Like I said, it's all been lessons and nothing else along the journey, and, you know, just grateful for it, man, for sure.
So what'd you do once you came here? What was the plan to start monetizing and funding your life while building the Spurs Up Show?
Well, again, you know, I knew the platform that I had built, that, you know, I had something valuable.
And you thought at that point, even with only 8,000 followers, that you could earn good money doing it?
Because here's the thing.
Because most people don't think that.
Because my audience, and here's the thing too, I should have mentioned earlier. Number one, my audience was so niche, right? So niche. It's specifically South Carolina Gamecocks, okay? So my audience was so niche. And also, another big thing, I definitely attribute this, I think this is a big reason. When I built my audience, like, I pride myself, not, the followers are cool, but the engagement. Like, dude,
that's true.
When I'm building an audience, you know, there are platforms that are way bigger than me still. have 50,000, 60,000, even, and they're specific to South Carolina. Like they're huge, but their engagement, I'm getting more likes and retweets than they are because I have a very engaged, diehard audience because they know me, they relate to me. Like, you know, I reply to people. Like I'm more than willing if they DM, I'll DM them back. Like I've built that relationship, and I feel like that is so valuable. And that's why like people talk about all the time personal branding. You know, personal branding is such a thing now. And it's a very important thing in 2021 for sure. But I think that's why, man. Because like, for example, when I had 8,000 followers, bro, I had 8,000 supporters. It wasn't just like casual followers. And I'm sure some of them were, but I just think that's kind of what helped separate what I was doing from others was, and I saw it from the view counts, man. I'm like, how do we have 1,000 followers and I'm getting 1,000 views? Like, that's insane. And I'm looking at another account that has like 100,000 followers and they're only getting 2,000 views. I'm like, how does this make any sense? This math doesn't compute. But our following, and even to this day, our following is very engaging, and they're very passionate about it, man. It really hits home with them, and I like to think, again, a lot of that comes from, you know, me putting myself out there like as a personality, and I think people can relate to me too. Like I don't ever try to act like I'm speaking down to people. Like I'm on your level. I'm a fan too. You know what I mean? Now, granted, with how the business has evolved, and I've been, you know, blessed enough to get opportunities to meet people, and I've met people within South Carolina's program now. So every now and then I'll come across some information that maybe not be available to the masses. But like I'm a fan too. Like we're all in this together. Like I've always viewed myself, and I've always been so grateful to the supporters and everything else, and the fans, listeners, subscribers, all that good stuff. So, but yeah, I think that's where that belief came from. And I'll even go back to another conversation. So you start talking about monetizing. My mind was on that as soon as I got the LLC, and I started.
Which was right before the live show.
Right, exactly. But when I told you I was putting feelers out in spring of 19 with these local business owners, right? I'll never forget Brian Glenn. Shout out to Brian. Anybody that's a Gamecock fan listening to this, or familiar with Columbia, he's the owner of Village Idiot. He's well known. That's a pizza spot. Awesome pizza. Awesome place. Free ads for you, Ryan. But no, Brian's an awesome dude, man. They got cold beer and hot pizza, and that's all you can ask for. It's a great spot. A legendary venue. They got one all over the place. Anyways, I sat down with him, and I really more so came into that meeting with him. This is the first time we ever met. We texted a little bit. This is the first time we ever met. And I asked him, I was like, dude, I tried to get as much feedback as I could. It's like, what should I be charging people? Like, how much should this be worth? And he kind of walked me through and gave his insight. And I took a lot of ideas from him about like having a tier system.
What were you proposing to
do? At that point, well, so like for him joining on, you're saying as a sponsor.
Yeah, I'm saying, what does that mean?
So okay, and we can dive into that. So that, like right now, so I have a tier system as far as whenever I'm talking to a potential partner, sponsor, a small business, I will, I really want to know more about the business and what their goals are. Now, I have a tier sheet that ranges from everything from having your business logo on the website and some social media promotion like 2 to 3 times a week, all the way up to, presenting sponsor for the podcast, like, tons of social media promotion, obviously everything else included, promotion on our daily live stream, whatever. And there's a lot of things that fall in between that. But so I'll send them that tier sheet, and that's really to have organization, right? You got to have a starting point. But I'll tell them, hey, this is to give you an idea of what's possible, where you can advertise your business, because a lot of these small businesses, they have different goals. Some people want to sell more units if they're that type of business. They want to grow on social media. They want to grow their clientele. Or some of them are just huge Gamecock fans and they want to support a Gamecock show. They just want to, the small business community has been awesome. Everybody's helping out each other. But everybody has different goals. So, and again, that's why I said my background in Charlotte, at the time, I may have hated my job.
Oh, but it helped you gain perspective on
so much.
What they go through,
I may not have known how to have those conversations. That's literally what I did. We were putting together marketing packages for businesses.
Wow.
So it all came full circle. That's what I'm saying. Everything happens for a reason. And I didn't understand it or realize it in that moment. But it was man, that was a blessing I went through that, because I learned those skills that I need now. So, but again, when I was having that conversation with him, man, I was very I was just trying to learn. I didn't know where to start with pricing, because the biggest thing is this. If you're let's say you're trying to monetize your podcast, or you're a content creator and you're trying to monetize, you got to find the middle ground between, because you don't want to charge, especially before you've built a reputation, a really big reputation, you're really credible, whatever. when you're starting out, you don't want to charge so much that it's like laughable and ridiculous, but you also want to you don't want to, one of my favorite examples or one of my favorite analogies or whatever you want to call it, stories, is this experiment that was done. I forget who it was, whatever. And this is roughly telling it, but basically this guy took a box of puppies out to a park and said, free puppies. He put it on the box. Didn't get rid of any of them. He goes out the next day, takes a box, $100 a puppy. He sold them all. Why is that? People want to pay for things that have value, right? I don't want something free. It ain't got value.
That's a good point.
Why is a Gucci bag, and another bag that's maybe made exactly the same? And I'm not into bags. This is just an example. But why is it not as valuable? It's just that there's just more value. Like that price tag. And again, a lot of it goes into like their brand reputation and all that. But like you kind of see what I'm saying, right? So again, if I'm charging, if I was saying, hey man, you can be a sponsor of my show for $25 a month. They'd be like, well, I'm gonna get a $25 product. Like it ain't worth the paper it's written on, right? So like you got to find that middle ground when you're trying to monetize. You need to understand, and that's something that I think, can be tough for people in the beginning, especially if you're not like outgoing or you're not like being willing to ask. You got to be willing to ask. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you right now, we actually just went up on our prices starting January 1, 2021, because I look at it now and I'm like, dude, you have to understand like what you do and what you have to offer has value. It has value. Like, again, I told you we take it for granted. We sit here and we talk in front of a camera and we talk to a mic or whatever and we just do it casually and we think, oh, everybody can do this. No, they can't. No, they can't. And if they could, they would. A lot, you know what I'm saying? Like if there's people that want to talk on social media and chitter chat, if you can do it, then go do it. Nobody's stopping you. But back to what I was saying, just like, you got to know what you're doing. First you've got to build the platform. You got to have something of value to offer. But once you know what you have, you go into it with that mindset and you say, hey, this is what I have to offer. And again, you go and see how it's all about and I think this is one of the reasons I've had success with the business, with partnering with small business owners, with having guests on my show, with having an engaging audience. I've always kept the other person in mind first. How can I help you? How can I show you value? Every single time I have a small business reach out to me, every single time I have a guest on, I'm like, how can I tell your story? How can I show, what can I do to help you? I tell all of my partners, all of my sponsors, if you don't succeed, I don't succeed. So like, it does me no good for you to come on for a month or two and then fall off. Like I'm basically running an advertising company.
Yeah, I know.
It's low key. That's kind of what it is. It serves that purpose. So like, and that's something that's big in the digital marketing world and advertising world is churn rate. What churn rate is and this is something that's like what I did. Retaining clients. Like clients will fall off and they have a churn rate and a churn percentage of clients that cancel, right? That fall off because people are dissatisfied or they want to go with a different provider, whatever. And so I saw that normally churn rate's like 10%, which is very large. I mean, it's a large number, believe it or not. But so like I tell these, I tell every single business owner, man, I talk to, I'm like, my number one goal is to show you value. And that's why I start with every single one. How can I show you value? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to accomplish? Let me show you how we can both have a very fruitful partnership. Because my goal with every single, sponsor, partner, whatever I bring on is to have a long-lasting relationship, long-lasting partnership.
You don't want them there for a month.
Right. Now, so I mean, there's different circumstances where, some people just want to be a sponsor during football season. Some people, it doesn't work with their business budget, whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? Like it's unrealistic to think you're going to keep partners on forever. But letting them know that, I think, man, and always, like I said, my advice to any content creator, when you create content, really put your audience first. Like, and I'm not saying say what your audience wants to hear necessarily, but think to yourself, am I providing value to the audience? Am I providing value to the end consumer? I think in any line of business, you should think that way. The goal is to give them value. If you give value, you will receive the end result that you want. You know what I mean? And again, that goes for what I do, you do, any walks of business. I could apply that to relationships. Everything. Just do everything. Personal relationships, romantic relationships. everything, dude. Just like give value, put value out. I'd say put value out into the world, and you're going to be rewarded for it. I truly believe that, man. That's just how I operate. So
you started getting meetings with these guys, and how slow did it start, or how fast did it start, where you were generating revenue while building the platform in Columbia?
Yeah. So I mean, dude, as soon as I had a sponsor the first week I was here. So shout out Steve Tannehill, former Gamecocks quarterback. That was my first ever sponsor for the business. Tannehill's Group Therapy, bar down in 5 Points. And we had them for about a 4 or 5 month period. And then another one that I had actually put a feeler out with, Columbia Craft Brewing Company. They were my second one. And it was a scenario where, again, the guy was a Gamecock alum. His brothers were Gamecock alums. And they had found my podcast, and they saw the opportunity to grow their brewery and expand it, but they loved what I did too. And so like that helped a lot. So it actually happened pretty quickly. And I mean, again, but there were points like I went, a month or two without adding a sponsor, and then I added 2. And it's been kind of like, you got to get used to those irregularities. Like, there's going to be times where you have a hot month and you have a whatever month, you know what I mean? Like there's different stages to it, I guess you could say. You're not going to add a new partner every month. But I mean, I think I hit the ground running personally. I mean, I think we got off to a really fast start, and it definitely, of course, benefited that I went to New York and I had that nest egg.
Right. Yeah.
So I wasn't like,
freaking out
on my last dollar sitting here like, oh my God, I have to find a sponsor tomorrow. I was able to, go about it in a really, work on content, focus on that, and then also build out the, monetize it. I was able to build out that side of it. But I mean, I'd say we hit the ground running, man. I mean, I remember I got here and I was like, dude, if I thought I was grinding before, I'm doing this full time now. I'm about to get after it. And that's exactly what I did, man. And it was a blessing that I jumped onto this podcast hosting platform that I'll say Red Circle, a great hosting platform. Basically, they have a system where like they'll find ads for you, and like because we know, man, in content you're based off views, you're based off clicks, you're based off downloads for a podcast. And I remember it was fall of 19. I put out a show Monday through Friday, but I haven't always done that. It used to just be Monday, Thursday when I wasn't doing it full time. And but I was thinking to myself, you know what would probably help get downloads up? Do a daily show. And so middle of the season 2019, started doing a daily show, and I mean that's been a huge success. I mean it's I've been able to schedule out the content, kind of how we operate things during. And football season's a little bit different. I'm still doing the daily show. The daily shows really run from, I'd say, in a normal year. I know 2020 was madness, but August 1st until end of May when baseball season ends. June is by far the slowest month for like college sports. I joke with you, I kind of work like a teacher. I mean, it's kind of funny because like, June you have nothing going on. So like my plan probably this year be June will probably be a month for me where I'll, at least from the podcast side, I'll probably take a month off from recording just to like kind of give myself that detachment. And like maybe I'll go on a vacation and I'll like take time to self-reflect. And because again, from even like mid-July, like SEC Media Days is the thing where all the coaches go, and that's in like mid-July. The season basically starts at that point. We start previewing like football season goes July to December, January, whatever. So like it's a grind for sure. But yeah, I mean I got here and I got after it. There's no question. So
what would you say to people that are uneasy about utilizing advertisements in their content?
I mean, as far as what, like, because they're afraid that people are going to be like, oh my God, I don't want to hear ads. I mean, dude, it's the nature of the beast. I mean, if your followers, if your fans, whatever, your listeners, if they are truly fans of you, they're going to understand. You know what I mean? Like, we got to eat. You got to pay rent. I mean, that's how you do it with ads. The best shows have ads. Joe Rogan's podcast, it's making like, what, $100 million in a year?
From Spotify.
It has ads, bro. I mean, it's the nature of the beast. So I would tell a content creator, don't worry about that. I mean, you do what you got to do, man, to monetize it. And again, trust your gut. You know what I'm saying? Now, you don't want to flood your show. You don't want nothing but ads. But like, I even have people now that'll complain about ads, and I'm like, dude, if you can't understand that I need ads to operate the show and whatever, and most of the time, man, it's just people complaining to complain. They're gonna listen tomorrow. You know what I mean? Some you never know. Again, it's like I was telling you, a little bit ago
about the quarantine and complaining.
Well, not just that, but I'm saying like, don't take things personally. Maybe that person's just having a bad day and they just want something to complain about. I don't know.
All right.
What would lashing out at them and being like going to this whole story of why I do it? What would that do? So I would just tell a young content creator, man, like you're trying to monetize the business. You got to do what you got to do. And I think, honestly, again, man, if you've built a platform where you truly have fans and listeners, they're going to be excited. You know what I mean? They're going to
that you're growing.
It's growing. Like the
That's
content, because guess what? When you grow, the content
gets better.
The business gets better. Everything gets better. That's the only way it can get better. So that's what I'd say, man. Don't listen to that outside noise. Just, the people that really support you, they're gonna cheer you on more than anything.
So the first income you started bringing in from the Spurs Up show was sponsorships where you featured their business or advertised it somehow?
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit before that with I partnered with SeatGeek, and so I had a promo code.
Oh, so you were like
yeah, I was like a little side deal. But granted, it was solid. It'd bringing in between 200 and 300 a month. Which is to be working your 9 to 5 and bringing that in too. That was, yeah. You learn when you start a small business, man. You have, and that's something I really pride myself on. You have to diversify yourself. You can't be all right, I'm going to lock in on this one stream of income and I'm just bringing it all in here. I'm not saying go sell drugs or anything. I'm just saying again.
Oh, that's where you're going.
No. I'm saying in legal ways. But diversifying yourself as far as, hey, sponsorships, as far as other small partnerships where I can help people out. Merchandise. You just try to, we've started monetizing on YouTube. We hit 1,000 subscribers. That's a blessing. You got to diversify and make sure you have, I've always believed, man, because I've read different things and watched different videos, and they talk about the average millionaire has on average 7-8 streams of income. That's important. You have to diversify yourself. But so I had that little small thing, but definitely, the sponsorships, that was the first true income revenue, I would say, that started coming in for the business when I got here. So.
And did you start feeling freer?
I was doing it full time. It felt freer in the sense, man, that I could put all my focus into it. You know what I mean? I could put all of my focus and my energy and attention to it. So, definitely, man, I felt a sense of, and I certainly saw my happiness went up. You know what I mean? I was doing what I love to do. You know what I'm saying? How are you not going to be more happy, right? You, for the first time, I experienced that fulfillment. You know what I mean? Because there were days, listen, man, when I was up there in New York, carrying somebody else's golf clubs, there's days where you're man, is this ever going to be over? And I would stop and I would daydream and I would just think about myself in my place in Columbia doing my podcast, or I'd envision myself out on the town in Columbia, and I was it's going to be worth it. And so being able to, again, that's why that perspective hit me, just would never take a day for granted, man. That energy, that excitement. Yeah, dude, it was, it was, like I said, it was full steam ahead once I got here. I was totally locked in. Still feel that way, obviously, to this day, but I was fully locked in, full steam ahead, and, just haven't looked back since. And
what was being locked in? Meaning, what were you doing that was locked into another level, specific things?
Honestly, man, a lot of instances it was sharpening things, but creating even more content, putting out even more great work. Again, I mentioned just the studio. A lot of the stuff I'm doing now, I've been doing it since the beginning, but it's evolved. It's gotten better. It's gotten sharper. And it's continuing to do so. I think in this ever-changing, especially as a content creator, bro, and social media is ever-changing, and the way we make content, the way we do podcasts and video, you have to be able to evolve and be innovative. And like I said, taste things and try things and be willing to fail, right? And so when I say locked in, again, I was able to put 100% of my energy into the business. But again, thinking more grand scale, starting to dive hitting stuff a lot harder. Again, it was a lot of stuff I was already doing, but again, I went from doing 2 shows a week to 5. You know what I mean? I amped it up. I didn't have to do that necessarily, but I was bro, I'm going to amp it up. I'm going to put my foot on the gas pedal and push this thing as hard as I can. I started doing watch parties and even more live events. So
anything to really just keep growing.
Anything, bro, anything. And again, a lot of it was, you don't have to, I didn't move to Columbia and reinvent the wheel necessarily, but it all just evolved and got better. Dude, we could go back right now. You look at even just the way I made video clips or the type of content I posted. How I did game recaps. Right now you'll watch during football season, I do a halftime update and a post-game recap. I didn't do that 2 years ago. It just trying different things. And again, it was just being here. It was great because I was so locked in the sense that my mind was so open to that. I didn't have other things to worry about. I didn't have to worry about not being fulfilled. I didn't have to worry about my 9-to-5 job. I didn't have to, whatever other external factors. I forget the guy's name, and it's I Am Fam on Instagram. It's this dude, I watched on a podcast one time. I think he put it best. Imagine a room full of TVs, right? There's 100 TVs. And 20 of them are on this channel, 20 on this channel, 20, right? They're all on different channels. So it's going to be very hard to get to your end goal, or you're not going to move quite as quickly as you want, right? Now imagine that same scenario. Every single TV is tuned in on the same channel. That's how I felt when I got here. I was like, I'm in tunnel vision. Everything is moving full steam ahead. Nothing's stopping me. Nothing's holding me back or what. Like, I was totally like in that zone, in that flow. You know what I mean? And so when I say locked in, that's what I mean. Again, I increased the workload. Hey, I posted more. I tweeted more. Hell, right now I'm posting on Instagram like 12 times a day. That's a lot. It's a lot. But I truly do believe, and I believe this since the beginning. And again, I got to say, Gary Vee, I have to say, Gary, that's a lot of the reason I do what I do and think the way I think of, as far as content-wise, is I watch a lot of his stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with his work, but he preaches that. And I really saw value in that from the beginning. And again, going back to the beginning, you're like, man, you have no followers. Why would anybody listen to you? And my thought process was, you know what? I'm going to post so much content and provide so much value that you can't help but follow me. It's going to be undeniable. Because guess what? I'll tell content creators this, young content creators that are tuned in. Not every piece you publish is going to hit, right? Not every single piece not every video is going to go viral. But guess what? If you post 10 videos in a day versus 1 or 2, you're giving yourself a lot more of an opportunity, right? Like it's just common sense. So I've always believed in like massive content creation, man. I still believe that, and I'm still trying to evolve and grow. And like I told you, that's what the exciting part is, man, is being at this point and looking back a year and saying, man, at that point, I thought, again, you never feel like you made it because success is a journey, not a place. But I remember thinking at that point, man, look how awesome this is. We got this going on. And I think back now a year ago and I'm like, man, how much things have evolved and gotten better. And it's exciting to think I'm going to be sitting here 2022 thinking the same thing. And like, that's the fun of it, is like you have fun on the journey. You have fun during the experience. And that's the thing too, man. When you're making, especially when you're a content creator, but you're in business, have fun, dude. Like have fun, enjoy it. Remember why you got into it, have perspective, because it's going to be a grind. And you're going to have to be resilient. There's going to be adversity. Things aren't always going to go the way you want them to go. Try to have perspective though, but have fun in the process, man. And like I said, when I got here, that was kind of the way I looked at it. And like I told you, man, I went from, I was recording in a closet in Charlotte. I was recording in a closet, literally. And I mean, when I first got here, man, the studio, we didn't have any of this stuff on the walls. There was nothing, but I had a black table, 2 chairs, the mics, and I had my flag. But I was like, bro, I have a studio. This is so awesome. And I had guests coming by, and I was getting to talk to people in person for the first time ever. And I was like, again, at that point, it's like going back to the thing of hitting 1,000 followers on Twitter. Like at that point, you feel like it's the peak at that point. But again, That's the fun part. We're never going to hit the peak. We'll never hit it. We're going to keep innovating. We're going to keep growing. We're going to keep scaling, expanding, continuing to get better, continuing to evolve. We're going to stumble along the way. We're going to have some misses, but we're going to have a lot more hits than we have misses. You know what I mean? So, and I'm excited, man. Like I said, I'm really pumped for it. And obviously, we got a lot of big things on the horizon in 2021 and beyond. And I'm pumped about, and I'm still, obviously, as you can tell, just as passionate about it as ever, man. Like, I love it. I enjoy it, man. I'm blessed and grateful. And obviously, I'm trying to grow and evolve as a human being every single day, not just in business, but personally, and trying to sharpen myself and get better. I just turned 30 a couple weeks ago on Christmas. And, people were like, oh, man, you're 30. Like, I'm like, I'm 30. I'm not dead. Okay? So, but, man, I'm so pumped for my 30s because my 20s was all about, sports, and I went kind of crazy partying and like girls and finding myself and not being fulfilled and all. And I look at my 30s, it's like, man, my 30s is going to be achievement. Like it's going to continue to be growth and development and evolving, but like achievement and like crushing it, like truly crushing it, and like being fulfilled and being happy and sharing that with others, like giving back to other people. Like, so I just, yeah, man, it's overwhelming in a sense, but it's a blessing. And, you know, I say this, it sounds like coach speak, like a football. We got a long way to go, but I'm happy with the progress we've made at this point. So, yeah, it's great, man, for sure.
But to get to the point where you are having this level of fulfillment, you're excited about the future, you're growing, you have these sponsorships, what are the real life sacrifices it took once you got to Columbia that people don't think about? Like possibly budgeting, laying back on not going out all the time, people not spending time with you because you're working so much. What are some of the real life sacrifices it took?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it, because there are sacrifices. I mean, definitely, I mean, budgeting is one. And I've always been someone, though, that like, I think I'm just, I don't know, I've always been kind of frugal. So I'm not like, I'm not good at like splurging on myself. Especially like when I did the business, I want to put all of it, I want to allocate it all back in the business. Like, for example, January 2020, it was the biggest sponsorship deal I'd ever gotten, whatever. And I like J's. You might be able to see my shoes. I like J's. I like kicks, whatever.
Yeah, you got the all black Jordan 1s, right?
We got the ones. Now, I forced myself. I was like, reward yourself. Go buy a new pair of kicks. And I forced myself to do it, right? Like, but like, I've never had that problem. So that's a good thing. I know a lot of people deal with that.
Good.
They spend like above their means. But I mean, you know, when that was something I had to learn too. Like, you know, I was in Charlotte. That was something I wasn't great at budgeting. You know what I mean? That made life much harder. there were financial hardships, bro, for sure.
Especially when everyone else that's young, the culture is like, let's just
Instagram,
go out to eat.
Instagram.
Let's go hang out.
Dude, it's Instagram. Everybody wants to flex. You know?
Even if they don't got it.
And everybody's only posting the dope shit, the positive stuff that all happens. Nobody's posting their rough day. Nobody's posting when they're having a bad day or a down day, or, hey, because they went and bought those, that Gucci belt, they can't afford rent this month. Nobody's posting that. You know what I mean? It's all glamour and like, you know, that could be like a whole other subject. Like, be very careful buying into that and what you see. And some of those smiles you see on Instagram, the happiest people, they got the most problems. You know what I mean? So,
but that's a real sacrifice you have to make when you're trying to make something work.
But definitely, like,
go ahead. Got this guy to move.
My bad. I think
you're
I messed with the cord.
You're good.
No, trust me. I understand the importance of the equipment. You're right. But no, so I mean, you definitely have to be frugal. You got to be able to budget, and like, you know, a small business budget. That's a real thing. Like, I'm not going out to eat every night. I'm eating at home. I'm whatever. You know what I mean? So that was certainly a sacrifice. I'd say probably the biggest one, man, is just like, again, I'm not going out all the time and stuff. And like, I mean, I have my tight circle, but you definitely sacrifice like a lot of social life. I mean, because you're constantly on the grind, dude. And like, you know,
especially if they don't understand.
If you want to do, and again, this would be to anybody wanting to get in any line of business, doesn't matter what it is. But if you want to do something in life that is extraordinary, that's out of the ordinary, you got to be an out of the ordinary person. You can't be doing the same shit everybody else is doing and expect to get different results. Like, these people that are successful, that have all this stuff going on, again, you all just see, oh, they're so successful. And, you know, a lot of people have this twisted concept, man, they're just so lucky. How'd they get so lucky? Like, the universe just smiled on them. Bro, they have sacrificed so much. And that's probably the biggest one, I think, is, you know, and again, I have a really good friend group. Like, but I mean, like, I think we were talking, like, I have like 2 or 3 best friends, and that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? And like, I have my family, but like, I have my circle of people. I have my close-knit, tight group. But for people that maybe like they feel that need to be friends with everybody, like, that's definitely a sacrifice you make. You know, working long hours, you know what I mean? Like, just really, again, if you want to be an extraordinary person, you got to do extraordinary shit. There's no other way to get around it. Yeah. You got to be different. You have to be. You can't expect to do the same thing and get different results. So, yeah, I would say financially, but I would say that the social life one was probably the biggest sacrifice. But you know what is so funny? I never viewed it as like, if you talk to me even now or you talk to me then, I never viewed it as like, I love what I do, man, but I'm making this huge sacrifice. Like, I just looked at it as like, dude, I'm going to do what I love to do. It is more than worth the price. I would almost even say there was more of a sacrifice in Charlotte in the beginning. Because again, hell, I moved here, I was getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's a good point. I think that's probably what you were maybe more, even more so.
No, I didn't ask that, but you're right.
So definitely in the beginning, when like you said, man, you know this firsthand. People were like, "What are you doing? Like this is so stupid. This is so dumb. You're wasting your time. Like, what are you doing?" I mean, there were countless times where like I didn't go out in the town with people or go to dinner or like didn't go to a certain event or didn't partake in something because hey, I was paying for a business logo. I was paying for or putting money in the business to do something else. Like I wasn't allocating those funds to do what they were doing. You know what I mean? It's like there was definitely a lot of sacrifice on that end. So yeah, bro, anything you want in life if you want to be great, there's going to be sacrifice. But again, I always just viewed it as, man, like it's, you got to let the pros outweigh the cons. And I mean, again, sacrifice is necessary. It's necessary. It has to happen. There has to be sacrifice. You know what I mean? And that's in anything, in a fitness journey, in business, and again, relationships, personal and romantic, everything. There's some type of sacrifice, but again, it's having the right perspective about it and looking at it as a blessing and not a burden, I would say. So
what would your final words be to anybody trying to, doesn't have to be content, but it could be just online stuff that's trying to figure out what the hell they want to do, or two, I would say, what's your advice to somebody who's really trying to figure out what the hell they want to do and they just have no idea? They're young, they're possibly not trying stiff, possibly they went to school just for the hell of it like you did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's another thing. We were talking about that before. I might as well get it out there. I mean, it's funny, man, because I don't have a college degree, right? That's the thing a lot of people don't know about me. I mean, I went to Newberry for 3 years, transferred, changed majors, went to Augusta State for a year, went to USC Aiken to finish, was going to go back and got the opportunity to chase a dream in Charlotte and moved and left. So a lot of people don't know that about me. But my point is this in saying that there's a lot of kids out there that are like confused, right? Like don't really know. And I mean, it's kind of...
Which it's fine to not know what the hell you want to do when you're young.
Dude. Yeah,
even if you're 27, you don't know.
This society of people thinking that you should have it all figured out at 21 or 22. And for those that do, congrats. That's great. That's great. That's awesome. But, there are parents, there are people, there are... people that critique and criticize that are telling people, figure it out. They don't even know what the hell they're doing. And they're like, they're older people. So like, how are you supposed to have it all figured out at 30? You know what I mean? Like, you're not done evolving as a human at 30. Are you serious? That's why I'm like, bro, I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like I'm just starting, but like...
And it's funny because people don't look at you like that. No, when they say 30, they're like, oh...
Yeah, I mean, some people might...
It's like relaxed time.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, like, all that really matters is what I think. You know what I mean, right? They're not me. So, but, whatever. I mean, it's, I guess people that think how you and I think, and again, this isn't like to knock anybody else, but that like perceive it and have that perspective like we have, you understand what I'm saying when like you feel like you're just getting going. Like it's like a new beginning. Like, you're just starting necessarily. So, people view it differently, but again, again, a lot of people don't know that about me. I mean, I played college baseball and did the whole thing and don't have a degree, still don't have one. So it's shocker to all you that maybe thought that I couldn't be a USC alum. It's still possible. You never know. We could turn it into some content, go back to see Philly, goes back to school at Carolina. You never know. But again, that's kind of a separate subject. I mean, you and I both agree. It's not something that, especially in this day and age, you need, because anything you want to learn, you can do on YouTube. You can reach out to people. I mean, we live in a day and age you can DM anybody. You want some advice? Just DM them. Their DMs are open. So... But for those kids, man, because I've been there, that are lost, that don't really know what to do. Because it's hard to tell somebody, hey, just find your passion. Just find what you're passionate about. That's much easier said than done. And that takes a lot of self-reflection. And I think it's, because I look back, I think it's almost more important to work on self first and really, and without getting too like philosophical or whatever, but like, really let the universe like bring to you. If you keep manifesting, like, I am going to do something I love to do and I'm going to be rewarded for it. I'm going to be compensated for it. I know I can do it. I deserve to do it. If you have that mindset and you think that, eventually it's going to happen. The universe is going to give it to you. I'm a huge believer in like positive thinking. And, I set a bunch of goals for this year. And in my mind, the way I look at it, they've already happened. I'm just waiting on them. They've already happened in my mind. So I would just tell those young kids, man, like, and again, I know it's much easier said than done,
Even if they don't have any idea of what that way they want their life to be, though.
Right. I mean,
just try a ton of different things that just piques your interest.
Definitely taste a bunch of different things, man, for sure. Because you never know. Again, it's a lot like putting out content. You don't know which one's going to go viral. You don't know which one's going to hit. You don't know which thing that you taste or try is going to be the one that you become addicted to, you fall in love with, that you have a passion for. Maybe you didn't know you did, and you get into it and you're like, wow, I really enjoy this. But, I definitely man, just to be honest, I definitely think I'm I think anybody that can find what they are passionate about and be paid to do it is a little bit lucky. I'm hesitant to use the word lucky because I believe luck is, preparation, when opportunity meets preparation, that whole coach speak thing. But I really believe that. But we're blessed. You're blessed if you're someone that you can do what you love to do and get paid for. That's a gift. That's a gift from God, bro, straight up. But I would tell those kids, man, definitely try a bunch of different things. Try a bunch of stuff. But number one thing, do. You know what I mean? Try. That's the whole point behind it. Try. Don't say, well, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm not going to do anything. Well, that's definitely the wrong attitude, because if I can guarantee you this. Listen, I can't guarantee if you try a bunch of things, something's going to hit and whatever, all your dreams will come true. I can't guarantee you that. But if you do nothing, I promise you nothing will happen. It's just like going to the gym, dude. A lot of people don't go to the gym, and whatever, you can do whatever you want. I'm not telling you to go to the gym if you don't want to go. Whatever, you know what I mean? I don't want people to think that, but Big Bad Chris is telling you get in the gym. But
it's a fitness channel now.
Yeah, no, I know you had the fitness guys on too. I mean, a lot of people put stuff like that off because I don't have the perfect workout, or I don't have people won't record a podcast. I don't have the great mic. I don't have the great camera. Dude, just start. It'll evolve. You'll get better. Just start though. Because I actually watched a fitness guy one time on YouTube. This was years ago. And he's like, if you don't have a membership to a gym, if you can't go to this, do something. You don't need the perfect workout, but just do something. It's exactly the same way for business, content, everything else, man. Do something. And again, I know it's cliche and there's a lot of quotes out there and stuff, but I really just believe, man, what do you have to lose? Because you can succeed at doing something you don't like, and you can fail at doing something you don't like too. So why not take the chance of doing something you love to do? Who knows? It might work. And if nothing else, man, doing it, don't you think you're going to come out better on the other side? It's going to be an experience. You're going to, every experience, positive or negative, as long as you learn from it, is a plus. I mean, it's just bottom line. I mean, dude, when I was thinking back, recapping 2020, again, we're sitting here January 5th, 2021. When I was thinking back to 2020, I thought to myself, thank you for my successes. Thank you for the people that believe in me, that love me. Also, thank you for the failures. Thank you for the people that doubt me, that don't like me, that discourage me, because they all have a role. They all have a role in our growth as people and as human beings, and what we want to achieve, and it all fuels us in different ways. And as long as you have the right attitude and perspective about it, the sky's the limit for you. Nothing can break you. You know what I mean? And that's, again, how I operate. And I would just tell the young kids, man, like I said, it's much easier said than done, find your path. But that comes, again, with just sit down and be honest with yourself. What do you like to do? Maybe you're a young woman and you I don't know, man. I don't know if this is an overused thing. You love makeup. I know there's tons of that on you. But you're your own individual human being. Maybe you're a dude and you love kayaking. I don't know. Maybe you're passionate about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I know that sounds absurd, but we live in such a world, you have the opportunity. There's such a niche for everything.
Without needing a huge following, as yourself is a testament.
You don't need 100,000 followers. If you find a niche enough group and you build a true, passionate audience, and again, you're genuine and you're giving value to people are going to be like, dude, I believe in that person. Believe it or not, there are people in this world that want to see other people succeed, and they see that drive and that passion and that energy and that positivity and that mindset, and they're like, I want to see this person succeed. This is a good person. They're working hard. I want to see that happen. And dude, I'm a big believer, again, you keep a positive mindset, you work your ass off, good things are going to happen. People are going to take notice. You know what I mean? It goes back all the way into sports for me. You treat every rep like it's a game day rep. You treat every pitch like it's the Game 7 of the World Series. You bust your ass when nobody's watching, because you know what? If you do that, somebody is going to notice. You don't know when. We don't know when. That's why you got to treat every single day and every rep like it's your last, because, first impressions are everything, right? So people are going to get one look at you. And if you're slacking, if you don't have the right attitude, if you don't have the right mindset, they might not get the impression of you want. So and be grateful for every opportunity to do it, man. So like I said, man, the young kids, just get after it, try, be okay with failing. Know that every single failure, you're getting one step closer to a win. You're getting one step closer to that success that you're craving and achieving. And again, as long as you learn, is it really a failure? I don't think so. I think it's a positive. I think it's a plus. You're growing as a human being. You're growing as a person. And it's only going to make you better, man. So it's, just do, man. Do. Get after it. Yeah, and block out the outside noise, too. That's the other thing I'd say. To block out the outside noise, listen to yourself, trust your gut. There's going to be people, man, there's going to be people that doubt you along the way, tell you how stupid you are, and go look at some of these successful people that have started these companies. Look at a guy like Jeff Bezos, richest man in the world. I'm sure people thought his idea was stupid, right?
With the Amazon bookstore in the 90s, right?
Did he listen? No, don't ever let some external force, or definitely don't ever let another person dictate the direction of your life. Those people, if they're being negative and discouraging you, they're projecting shit that's going on in their life. Like I was telling you, don't take anything personal, right? That's one of the 4 laws, or one of the 4 agreements of this book I read. Don Miguel Ruiz, what a legend. But don't take anything personally, because what they say, what they tweet, what they comment, what they say to you directly, it's no reflection on you and what you're doing. It's a reflection on them. It's totally on them. So block out that outside noise. Find what you're passionate about. This has always been my advice too. I know I'm going on and on, but find what you're passionate about and then become grossly obsessed with it. And let it go from there. Let it run wild. Have an open mind, be open-minded, be a sponge, soak up as much knowledge as you can, try to get better every single day, bust your ass, keep a good attitude, become obsessed. And I think good things will happen, man. I really do. I would say that anybody, and like I said, if nothing else, you're going to learn so many valuable lessons and learn about yourself along the way that, are going to help you for the rest of your life.
Well, it's a testament to the fact that what you're saying is true and has validity because of the stuff you've been able to do, Chris, because, you're not some huge media company possibly. You're not having some tremendous studio, but it's a testament that what you're saying is true because you've been able to do something that is so rare and is something you really enjoy. And so I appreciate you being open and honest about, the whole journey, because it's extremely interesting to me to see these alternative, I'll say, ways that someone like yourself is earning money while doing something they love. And it's real eye-opening for me. So I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say last thing too, man, just to your point, all you can do is give your absolute best every day. Like you said, we live in a culture like Instagram, and everybody wants to compare themselves to others. I'm not humble brag, or I'm not trying to flip, but I really don't do that. I'm so secure in what I'm doing and what the content we're making and what, the goals we have and the work we're putting in, that, I can lay my head on my pillow at night and be at peace because I'm and again, it's just funny how it all relates back to sports. Did I leave it all on the field? Did I do my best? Even when you have a rough show, you have a rough podcast, you have a rough day at work, can you look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? It wasn't necessarily my day, but I gave my best effort. And again, so when you look around, maybe things aren't perfect. Maybe the platform's not perfect. Not every opinion I give is the best, but I'm genuine about it. And again, I would just say that to anybody else. Be genuine about it and do the absolute best you can. And don't let anybody else make you feel you're your own human being. You're on your own journey. You're not in competition with anybody else. You're not. That's why a lot of people get depressed, and they get this, in this competition mindset, but not a positive way. They don't get in a competition of my biggest competition is myself. I want the best out of myself. Because I know at the end of the day, bro, if I'm on my A game, it don't matter if you're on your A game. It really does. I don't say that to be cocky, but you have to have that level of confidence. So to that random girl listening, that random dude, whether you're some kid in high school, college, you are, what are there, 7 billion people in the world? You're one of 7 billion. Your DNA is unique to you. You are a unique individual. You are in competition with no one. So your work and what you do is going to be special because it's you. Nobody can duplicate that. So I just think that's important too, man. But no, seriously, I appreciate you coming by. Let me take the time. I know I probably talked your ear off, but like I was telling you earlier, it's fun to be on this side because normally I'm the one doing the interview. And yeah, so it's fun to be on this side, man. Like I said, I appreciate you, letting me kind of share my experiences and everything because this is something I don't really get to talk about a ton, especially on air. But hopefully, even if just one person sees this and sees our conversation and gets something positive out of it, it'll be worth it. So I appreciate you giving me the platform, man.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
It's a pleasure.